Shea, to your point, when we take a look at this Cubs team, I think this Cubs team is good enough to make the playoffs. Now, I don't know what happens after they get there, but your issue is that the Cubs should have been able to do more, to add on more, just in case there's injuries to key players.
I just think it's like this paradox of like, we don't believe in this team, so we're not going to add to this team. But if you add to the team, wouldn't you then believe in the team? Like, if you add more talent, I think there's a little bit.
They don't believe in the team.
That's the feeling that we've all gotten, isn't it? Like, Jed told you on opening day at Wrigley, we aren't there yet. We're not the Braves or the Dodgers. And I'm not telling you that they are, but if you're more willing to spend some money and more willing to bring in some major league talent, I just have a fear for the Cubs that the whole Hayward thing and the lack of a farm system at the end of the 2016 run has made them hug the prospects a little bit too much. And they're just hell-bent on we're going to build through the farm system. The thing about that is these prospects, they don't pan out, then you're in trouble.
Well, then you get fired. You got to do you got to make the right decision to the best of your ability. Mm-hmm. And when he looks at his team and he thinks every team in the last 15 years that won the World Series had a top 10 farm system leading up to that championship, whether that was the Royals, whether that was the Cubs, whether that was the Red Sox, whether that was the Dodgers, mm-hmm. the Astros. You can keep naming them. They've all had top farm systems, and then they add on. Jed felt like 2016, hey, man, we're there. And we'll take and make an overpay. Isn't that what he called it?
Yes.
We'll go way over in what we pay to get 3 months of a rental for Aroldis Chapman, and they won the World Series, and it worked out. God bless him. It's the greatest sports moment of my life.
But you're used to being able to have some sizzle on the roster over the years. Even with bad teams, you said, boy, that guy's an all-star. That guy's a good player. They just need to build around certain players. It could be a pitcher or a position player.
Well, maybe they have that now. Suzuki's playing at an all-star level, and I've told you, I think he's an all-star player. That's an all-star right there. Cody Bellinger, that guy's an all-star level player. Swanson was an all-star last year.
I just think that you have to try to get away from the that'll do with your roster. That's a good team. That'll do. I'm just saying that in the offseason, and I said at the deadline, I expect the Cubs to add more. I just think I'm just used to having a little bit more sizzle with the Cubs as far as difference-making players.
Okay, so explain to me who they did not go get that you think they should have gotten.
Well, we always talked about trying to get a frontline starter. We talked about that in the offseason. But you kept telling me about the RSN money, which is a real factor, not being able to spend as much money.
Well, they did that getting Imanaga, who's off to a great start. Now, we'll see if that continues.
We'll see. But you know what I mean. You know exactly what I mean. When you are a fan of a team, you feel like in free agency, you could be able to add on and try to make your team better. The Cubs are on the precipice of being a perennial playoff team if they're able to add on more. Like, Michael Busch over at first base, you weren't a big fan of that when it first came across. You said, okay, we'll just go with it, but you'd prefer something else, more of a veteran over there.
Yeah, I don't know if I would say I wasn't a big fan. I said, okay, prove it to me. He was the PCL Player of the Year, Pacific Coast League. Mm-hmm. Okay, let's find out. He's off to a really nice start. Looks like a good player.
Don't get me wrong. I'm not trying to bleep on the Cubs. They're off to a great start.
Yes.
I thought they would be a good team this year. I'm excited about their future. I just have a little bit of a fear that their process has overcorrected into hugging the prospects too much, into relying on the future and those young players a little bit too much. So at the deadline, my point is this. If you're in the hunt at the deadline, mm-hmm. I don't want to hear about, well, we think we can only win 88 games and maybe get in a bad division. We don't want to make some moves. Make some moves, please. If you have a chance to get in, don't tell me that because the Diamondbacks made it with youth, you can too. Make a move to actually make it and get in and make noise.
They have depth in their system. If you think I'm trading away Cade Horton, who's now, I think, the #1 pitching prospect in baseball, that ain't happening. Not going to happen.
Well, saying that I'm not there yet for Jed is pretty honest.
Right.
It's pretty honest.
And he said, I like our team.
Yeah.
We're not at the Dodgers or Braves level. That's just being realistic.
Well, that is true. That's true. I guess for the average Cub fan that's listening, they say, well, when will that happen? will it happen in this regime that you could be on that level? That type of star power. And by the way, stars doesn't necessarily buy you a World Series championship, as we well know from last year with the Braves.
Or the Mets, who didn't even make the playoffs and spent insane money. No, I'm very comfortable with how he is building this thing. Now, if you tell me, hey, the Cubs are 7 games up July 31st, and whoever that pitcher is available, or that third baseman, or this, whatever.
Yeah.
And I can get him, I don't want to hear you can't afford him then.
That's right. You better.
Now, if you tell me that they're at the deadline, I don't know what the number again, let's call it, they're 50 and 52.
Yeah.
No, I'm not going out to add on to a sub 500 team. But I think they're pretty good, kid. Pretty good.
Yeah, I just keep coming back to that Andrew Friedman quote that, if you try to win basically if you're always rational about every free agent, you're going to finish third in a lot of negotiations. Like at a certain point, you are going to overspend on guys, but that's kind of the beauty of being one of these super flush with money clubs. You can just throw your weight around a little bit more. And to Shea's point, I think they are worried to throw their weight around after that Hayward contract.
I don't think the Hayward contract has anything to do with it. I don't. I do not believe that plays in their mind at all.
I know if I'm that front office, like, well, we don't want to do that again. We want more than a gold glove and a speech.
Yeah, but that was 10 years ago when they signed him, right? Or 9 years ago?
But fiscally responsible and having a guy that can be able to contribute on a regular basis. That's all I'm saying. Like, you don't want to pay through the nose for that kind of contract and don't get the production that you're looking for.
I know for a fact that they called about Juan Soto from the Padres.
Yeah.
Okay, we'll take Cade Horton. We want Pete Crow Armstrong. And he's like, okay, is he signing an extension with us? No. Then I'm not doing it. Why would I do that? That would be asinine.
See, I would have done that.
You would have given up your top guys for 1 year. I can't wait to get you in as a GM because I'd be firing your ass.
And then I would have paid him in the offseason, whatever you want.
That would have been a Montez Sweat deal.
But again,
right.
Shea, what if he says, hey, man, thanks, I appreciate it. I've always wanted to play for whoever. Even though you're offering me the same money, I'm not doing it.
If I think it can get me closer to a championship, I think it's a gamble that I'd be willing to take.
That's insanity.
I can hang on to Pete Crow Armstrong in the hopes that one day maybe he becomes Juan Soto. No, I'd rather have Juan Soto.
But you're only getting him for 1 year. If you told me Juan Soto says
you pay him,
they asked if we're willing to sign him.
Isn't he a Boris guy? He's not signing an extension with the Yankees either.
Correct. That's my point. My teams, I don't think we're quite there yet. A. B, I'm not giving you my best guys who I've developed and then going, next October he's signing with someone else and we offered him more money. Yeah, I didn't like Chicago or I don't want to be there. I've always wanted to play for that team. That's what free agency is. And now I'm watching 2 guys star on another team. Out of your mind.
Cap and J Hood, weekday morning, 7 to 10.